procedures, SOPs, and guidelines are more critical than ever. They serve as the backbone of efficient operation, ensuring consistency, quality, and compliance. Or at least we hope to convince you at the end of the session that that is so. Anyway, in this webinar, we will delve into the problems surrounding their usability and access, and also into solutions available for addressing them. Moria will hopefully guide us through the strategies that not only optimize documentation processes, but also transforms them into valuable and usable assets that drive organizational access. So this is success. So this is the main theme around which we will deal today. And we would like to encourage you to participate actively in today's session. Feel free to share your questions and insight by posting in the chat. I will try to acknowledge them. And as we proceed, I will try to refer them to Moria. We will also have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So these are the opening remarks. And without further ado, let's start. We thought we'd start with a simple exercise. And we'd like to ask you to reflect on your experiences with SOPs, procedures, and guidelines, and just write in one word the first word you think of when you think of these kinds of documents. And just write them down in the chat and see what your immediate association is with these kinds of documents. Feel free.
Of course, it's a Teams chat, not a Zoom chat, because we are working on Teams, but same.
Ah, okay.
And don't use the QR code yet.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to be the first? I'm looking at the chat. What is the first association you have when you think about procedures?
Nothing.
Anyone? First associations, it's not hard. Standardized, okay. That's probably a good value. A guide, okay.
Let me say
Obsolescence, okay.
right.
You like how you find them? You find them satisfying? Roadmaps, best practices, okay. Anyone else want to try give us his association? Okay, set of instructions. Step-by-step instructions, okay. Okay, these are kinds of associations that define what procedures are. We thought of dealing more with problems you encounter with these kinds of
Israel, you're pushing them. You're pushing them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm leading the witness, as you say in my past profession. I won't lead the witnesses.
You know what? I'll take the second part. Please
Okay,
look
please,
at
Moria.
our screen. Please look at the screen and you see the QR code. Please take your telephone and scan this QR code and enter Menti. Enter the Mentimeter. And for those who don't want to work with their camera, they'll see it in a minute. Just a minute, I'll share it with you. So you can also go to the menti.com website and use the code 3777-6204. And now our questions is, what do the users think when they see SOPs, or when you hand them another guideline, when you hand them another working procedure? What are their associations? Not your associations, their associations. When they see standards, what do they think? And no, you as a knowledge manager are not a typical user. Answer us what they think.
Okay.
More. Let's go for more. Think. I know it takes sometimes a minute to enter the app, but additional work, step by step, guide, time consuming instructions. You are allowed to use associations terms that you already saw by others, but you're allowed to choose your own ones. Okay, let's get some more.
Additional work, inflexible, rigid, overwhelmed.
Yay, knowledge is managed. Overwhelmed, too much info.
Too much info, extra work, no time.
Complex.
Complex.
Probably complex we have more than one time because it's bigger.
Okay. Let's give it a few more seconds if anyone else wants to participate.
So let's stop here. People can continue adding, and we will be speaking while you are adding. So we see the change while we speak.
Okay, so this is a good start, and this is what we expected, and there seems to be a large gap, and this is we know also for our experiences, and I hope for your experiences as well, between the objectives of procedure SOPs and the like, and the need to make them maintain them and make their relevance. So I think most of the responses show this very clearly. So the first question I want to address to you, Moria, is if these documents seem at least to fail to meet their objectives and they don't work, or most of the time they don't work, maybe we should give them up. Do we have still a need for them? Maybe we should change to, let's say, more modern ways of conveying information like video clips or learning nuggets or TikTok video clips. Do we still need these kinds of documents? I think this is the first questions we want to address.
Okay, so as far as I would like to agree with you, Israel, and say, yes, let's go to TikTok and let's go to video clips, and we call them, we have all kinds of names, these bite videos, size-based videos, or bite-sized videos, and additional cute names that make it look all very nice. We still need these documents. And when I'm speaking about these documents, I'm speaking about all kinds of not short documents, official documents, starting with SOP guidelines and procedures, but not ending there. And we need them mainly for two reasons. The first reason is regulation. These documents encompass within them what we need to do because of the law, because of the regulation, because of the safety, because of our safety objectives. And it can go on and on. But if I want to say it in one word, things people must obey to, that they must do. However, if that was all the story, maybe we as knowledge managers were not sitting in this webinar. When we look at this webinar, we have another type of content that is included within these documents, another type of content that we think is important, and this is that another reason that we think that we still need these documents, and this is because they include, or they may include, the organizational good practices. Think of the idea of knowledge management. We are those standing, leading the audience, leading the organization, telling everyone we should not reinvent the wheel time after time again. We have to reuse the knowledge that we have. If we learned how to run some process in an efficient or effective way, we want everyone to know it. Therefore, these documents they include not only regulation, they include our good practices of how to run our processes, how to do them, how to perform them in the most efficient and effective way. So we cannot yet get rid of them. Maybe if there were organization good practices only, we would say, okay, some of them it's easier to explain if they are not textual, but yet we need them also textual. And if they are regulative, we need them definitely in this format.
Okay, so I think what you're saying there, we cannot dispose yet, at least, with these kinds of documents. So then, naturally, what we want to ask is how can we mitigate the gap between, let's say, the difficulties we have with maintaining good documents and the need to continue using them. So I would say that the challenge is substantial. On one hand, we want to craft well enough formed documents that are detailed enough, valuable enough. On the other hand, we want to ensure that the different documents are not long and not boring and not overload employees and don't include excessive information. So, how do we challenge these gaps? How do we close the gap?
Maybe let's ask our audience, what are your suggestions? Or let's first start understanding the gap. Why do you think that people think that they don't like these documents? Why are a lot of the typical users' answers when we ask them, what do you think about SOPs? And they just turn around and go to the other direction. Why are they so negative? What do you think, people?
Again, just write in the comments. And we know from experience, Moria, we ask these questions when we address people, and the answers are very common. And again, try to think from the point of view of the user, not from the point of view of you as a knowledge manager.
The
What
consumer,
if you would
not the supplier.
right? You were standing now in a class or in front of an audience, and you would ask him, "What do you think about these kinds of documents? What are the problems associated with them?" Lack of time. Okay. We don't have time to look into them.
Wonderful.
We assume they understand it. That means they don't understand it. Language is hard, surely.
I want
Okay.
to maybe we
They don't know they
okay.
exist, right? So making them accessible is a very tough job. Correct. Not interested to read. Neurodiversity. If I know what neurodiversity is, as I know what that means, but okay, they're obsolete. I think what Moria tried to suggest that we still need them. Complex, of course,
No,
they're
no, but I
complex.
want to agree with the one that said that they're obsolete. Too many times they're not up to date, and therefore
Okay,
their content is obsolete. And that's like the hen and the egg, because if people don't read them, then people don't update them, and then when people read them, they're again unupdated. So we have a problem that some of these documents are obsolete. So thank you for the important
okay,
comment.
okay, but mainly what we're saying is we still need, either because of regulations, either because of real need for these documents. On the other hand, we have a challenge: how to make them usable and accessible.
So I
Okay,
want
so
to
Moria, I think, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so I want to agree with you and say that when we learned from the JCI is the Global Healthcare Standards Organization. I believe that many of you know them. It's like the ISO but for the health industry. And they have investigated this issue because in health, in the health sector, of course, you need to work due to regulations and good practices. So what they found, and please let's see if you agree, they found that too many times people say that it's not easy to locate. We had that, Israel, right? We had that. People
Yeah,
say that they don't find it.
right, exactly.
They say that it's wordy. I think that this also came up in one of the answers. Too many words, things that alarm. Uh, they say that too many times they're not updated. too many times, it's not easy to navigate within the documents. Now, I want to take a minute to speak about the first one and this fourth one, because the question how easy it is to locate a document is an important question, but a question that we will not address today. We will speak about accessibility, but what we call internal accessibility, how easy it is to navigate within the document and to understand it and that it won't be too wordy. I'll continue. They're not always applicable. That's easy to solve, but it has to be addressed. They are too general. Sometimes we find the other way around, too general or too specific. They're not easy to understand. Israel, I remember we heard that as well.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, of course.
This
Complex,
one
not
we
easy to
didn't hear,
understand.
but what JCI shares with us is that they're not consistent in the way they're written and that they are too official written. And may I say, if I want to package it all, if I want to sum it all, I want to say we have problems with the wording. It's too formal, it's too high level, it's too legal. We have many times too many introductions, what makes it a long a document. And until you get to the to-do items, to-do sentences, it takes too much time and you already will say, okay, I'll find another way to answer my question. Sometimes the explanations are lengthy and it's not easy, generally speaking, to find answers within these documents. So the bottom line, they're not designed, and you know what? We're speaking already for 20 minutes. Now's the time to move from problem to solution.
Right. I
So
think I think we put the problem very, very boldly at front of us, and exactly this is the time to move on to how do we move on, bring a solution, and just I'm reading here in the comments by Irene, which says, of course, we need friendly formats, easy found, and supported by all kinds of means. I think this is what we want to show exactly. So Maria, lead us. By the way, I understand you want to share examples with us.
yes, but before I share examples, I want to say back one more sentence about the problem that leads us to the solution. Now, bear with me. The bottom line of the problem is that these long documents are not designed or structured with the user in mind. If we even learn to change that fact and have the user in mind, we're in a totally different place. But let's see how. And I want to refer also to this comment because easy formats can be misleading. One of the things that the world of quality managers said, okay, you want to have a procedure? Use the same format. So you start with an introduction, go to definitions, see what applicable documents are, what are the goals, then you go to the way of working, and then you have some appendixes. So while trying to come up with an easy format, they squeezed all the content into one chapter, how to work. And not only that, once they did it, all of a sudden, all the surrounding chapters had to get some flesh into them, some body, so they turned to be more lengthy. And they're not saying anything important. All these introductions and definitions and objectives.
Yeah, probably everyone is aware of those documents. We have a page or two of definitions, and by the time you get to some actual clause, you're lost. You're already lost.
Yes. So now I'll show you two examples before we speak theory, before we speak methodology. I'll show you two examples. Now you're seeing on our screen the word key easy, and probably you're trying to understand this branding. And the idea, it's a game of wording, is that we are looking for the key for easy documents, easy to navigate within, easy to understand, and therefore easy to apply. So what we are trying to suggest here is a methodology that will help us all finding the key for easy documents. And I want to share with you some examples, and I want to show them in live. So I'll share my full screen, and therefore you'll see me moving within things, and you'll see that it's really do. So let's start not with this one. We'll get to this one later on. We will start with this one here. This is a real document. We took off the name of the health center, the hospital that it was designed for. And these are guidelines for monitoring oxygen consumption, COVID wards. And this is how it looked background and purpose and definitions and responsibility and on and responsibility and guidelines and checklists. Now, it looks very well organized. However, in one word, and then let me say it's a mess. It's a mess because some of the actions are in the checklist as a table. Some of them are in the guidelines. Some of them are in the responsibility and authority. And some of them are repetitive. One time written as a responsibility and one time written as a checklist or as a guideline or even 3 times. So how can we change the way someone would write and consume such a document? Please look. This is page number 1. Again, we took off the logo. What do we have here? And we are now speaking about the solution, so I'll do it as slow as I can. First of all, we have here an ID. Division, categories, whatever, specific ID. And we have the name. At the bottom again, we have here some additional definitions, maybe appendixes or annexes, responsibility at the end. And who approved it? I even wouldn't like to have this in the first page, but even if you need it for some regulation reasons, it's possible. But let's look at the middle. Let's look at the center. Let's focus on the important thing. Now, I will teach you within 1.5 minutes how to monitor the oxygen consumption. You have to follow 2 things. To know what to do when you start a shift, you are now a nurse, or to know what to do when there's a pressure alert. When you start the shift, you have to know that there are 2 processes, 2 steps that you have to carry. And when there's a pressure alert, there are 2 steps that you have to carry. Besides, there's something that accompanies us all the time. This is the overall oxygen consumption management, what they call the ventilator array, that is managed by someone in charge all the time. But it's important for everyone to understand. That's why it gets its boldness. Now you see that this is what we call the concept map. Maybe I would call it the mind map because it represents our mind, our understanding. I don't call it a mind map because mind map is a specific type of something like a tree and roots. And we want to stick with the idea. So this is, you may call it the map mind or concept mind, but this is what we get here. If I continue within the document, you see now that we have, I won't show you each word, we have small knowledge nuggets. Each nugget has a square. It is limited, so people know psychology based, not that we're not going to write too many content within it. Also, the writer knows that he can write that and not much more. If I want, I always can jump back and forth to some specific place. And this is how everything is organized in a very neat way. And things that should be in a table are in the table there because there are also rules when to use tables and why. And whatever's best written and best understood with bullets or best understood as sentences. each one of these has its special usage and need. I'll close this and I'll go and show another example. So we close this one, before and after, and let's go to our second example, and we have here the ISO standard. It's not a mistake, we'll get to that. This is another document, and you see how long it is. Now I started by showing it from the middle. Again, we changed the logo, and it's not really the name of the bank. It's a different bank. We didn't want to confuse them, to embarrass them. And yes, this big black box was in the original way it was written. And you have here a procedure and table of contents. Yes, it's very well organized. We have a table of contents. And the length of the appendixes is almost as the length of the other items. But it's a very long document. And when we started working with this bank, the CEO, a very high-level person, of course, called me and said, everyone wants to go, it's a public bank, everyone wants to go to travel aboard within our company. So they love the traveling. They hate the procedure that explains it. It's the one that they hate more than every other procedure. So if you want to improve something, go dig here. So this is how it looked. And you can see it's very long and very lengthy and very wordy and very, very user-friendly. So let's look and see what can we do with it. And now I'll show you how it looks in the new format. Okay. So again, we have our ID and our ID. We have here also the purpose. Many times putting the purpose on the first page is important. There's a whole ideology or a methodology how to do the right purpose. People think that's an easy part. It isn't easy if you know how to do it. But if you write that the objective of this process is to document how the process works, we did nothing. However, here we find a very simple structure. Please mute. Okay. The simple structure will say there's even no steps within it, no ordering. There are things you have to do when you plan a new trip, a new travel. There are things you have to do the week before, last minute preparations. There are things that you have to do, you have to know while you are during the trip, during the travel, and things that you have to know after. Now, it's not topic oriented. You see, the idea of hotels may be here and maybe here. Traveling might be here and may be here, and also after in the final accounting. So the organization, and now I'm adding another tip, another idea, the organization of the document is with the user in mind. Not topic by topic, but how will it be easy to consume such a thing, a document, such a procedure. Now I'm starting to work on this, and this is not Meirav Barsadeh, one of our wonderful consultants, is working on it. And I remember myself walking in this bank, going down the stairs, and one of the head departments, a department manager, sees me going down the stairs and says, "Moria, so nice to see you." And she's going on her, and she's yelling through the stairs and saying, "I heard that you're working with our CEO and you met our CEO to work on this document, on this procedure." Every month or every second month, I'm traveling to some other country. What can you tell me that I do not know? And I'm middle of the stairs, and I'm saying, okay, I don't know what you don't know. And I'm taking my laptop 10 years ago. I remembered it as if it was today. I'm taking my laptop out of my bag, and I'm opening this page. Of course, it was in a different language. And she's looking at this image and saying, "Wow, I didn't arrange the mobile phone connection." I say, oh, and I go to here and I click it and it's only a Word document. I'm not showing you any special software. And she's, okay, wow, that helps me. So the idea that it can be like a reminder, like the expert behind your shoulder, this is totally a different accessibility level. And don't forget, it's very important to remember, we have a committee, some, let's say, control over this whole process, because it's a very delicate process, and we have to be very aware not to do mistakes, because this is money and this is pleasure, and we have to balance them both.
So I think, Moria, these are very intriguing examples. Let's say this example follows a timeline through planning through after returning, but I think there's a lot of theory behind this, and above the example or going forward, can you spell out the elements of the solution? Give us something of the theory that lies behind this kind of very visualized solution.
Yes, so I will less use the word theory. Yes, there is a theory behind it, and we even have a research paper on it, and so it's like a patent, but I want to speak about the methodology. So these are the examples that we saw, and let's speak about the methodology of Key Easy. What are the key elements of it? So first of all, the main and the most important part is first having a concept map. The concept map is the way the person who is writing the document, or may I say many times rewriting the document, it's the compass for him or for her how to organize the document. So whether I'm taking an existing one, a new one, you start with a concept map. You start asking yourself, and I will go into the details later on, but this is the first element. What are the important components in my document? What are the important messages that should be transferred, that should be spoken about, that should be written? So that would be the concept map. Another important thing is whether we're speaking about the concept map or later on additional elements, we all the time have to rethink what we thought in the past, what is core and what is surrounding. There's an organization that many times I think about it like operation that succeeded, but the patient died because we gave a nice education something like 8 years ago there, and we didn't speak with them later on, and the people changed, but they remembered that they need a map. So they took all the formal sentences like objectives and definitions, and they put them in a concept map. And then there was one icon for all the document, for all the core, for all the process itself. So it's not only important to have a picture, not always a picture is better than 1,000 words. The second important element is to know to differentiate between the core and the surrounding and give them the right balancing, because this is a to-do document or a to-know document, but not a knowledge and now enrichment document. We are speaking about documents that are here and now for the user to understand. I'll continue. A third important element is the visualization. Of course, visualization comes into place when we speak about the concept map, but not only there. Visualization is also something that we see in the icons, sometimes in the colors of the fonts, because you can take, for example, if this is now a guide how to work with some computing system. We don't have so many of these no more because now it's very easy, but we still have them. But bear with me this example because we can use it in for other needs as well. And you take every name of screen, every field name, every system name, and you put it in some blue, that's bolded. So it doesn't turn to be bold because it's not black, but it visualizes, it differentiates between the names of the system, the fields, the screens, and the content, what to do with them. So that's another level of visualization. We have additional elements of visualization and alerts and best practices, etc., etc. I won't go into all of them. I wanted to give some examples. However, the idea is that visualization is key, because when we come our approach to better, to easy document reading, understanding, and appliance is that our minds, our brains have two hemispheres, the left and the right. And we should help people read the document using these two elements. Now, this is tricky because we are an official document many times. It's not a circus. We can't play around with too much gamification or with too much infographic. But visualization, smart, gentle visualization is key to success. And the last one, something that you already heard me saying more than one time today, is the user in mind. Whatever we do, when we choose the wording, when we choose the icons, when we choose the way we organize the document, we have our user in front of us. We feel him, we sense him, we think about him, and that's how we organize the document. That's how we choose our wordings. That's how we choose the way we organize the sentences.
Okay, so I think two takeaways from this part is, first of all, there's a lot of analyzing to do and a lot of a thought process before you're able to produce good procedures as you suggested. So how does one start working on such a given document? It seems that it's not easy. How would you suggest starting to work?
I know that you're saying that it's not easy, but we said that everything is easy. That's the key to easy documents, but also the process itself has to be an easy process. So if I start with step 0, it should be some education. What we're doing here is orientation. But if someone is interested in more than that, we will probably speak about some deeper education on how to do it step by step. But I do want to answer your question, at least at some level, and say that we first, when we approach a document, and let's say that we have the education, the first thing to do is look at the scope of the document. Because too many times we found that physically it is one document, but the right way is to break it down to more than one document. I'll give you an example. If you have some procedures to do with emergency times, and this is a true example, we found within this procedure of work also the instructions for the person in charge, how to prepare half a year, 5 years before, the infrastructure so the organization will be prepared, and also what to do now when they're announcing that in 2 hours we are starting a period of some emergency, or even now when something has started. So sometimes it's different audiences. Sometimes it's even the same audience, but different times and different contexts. And it's not always right to put them in the same document. So the first thing to do is decide what's the best scope. We don't want to break something into small pieces, but what's the right scope of the document? Once you do that, you have to model. You spoke about analyzing, and we want to model how the document will be built. So the easiest way to start is starting bottom up. You take all the names of the chapters, all the name of the paragraphs, of the subparagraphs, and you list them all. And now you start playing around with them. And you start connecting them, putting them on a PowerPoint, or even better, on a Miro board. And you put them on the Miro board, you start finding connections between them, and then you start thinking top down, filtering them. Remember, some are core, some are surrounding, some deserve being mentioned in the core, some less. Some maybe you have a box, but that box will include 3 things within it, and not each one of them has to get a title and has to be mentioned within the concept map. I'll show you an example in 2 minutes. We continue. Once we have a good model, we go and build our knowledge nuggets. These are these short pages or one-pagers, each with a document. And what we're showing you is on a Word document, but it's even easier. It's
Please
easy.
mute.
It's easy to put it also on a web page. We're just showing it to you on Word documents because that's the easiest thing. And of course, later on, we save them as PDFs, etc., with all the hyperlinks. But we can do it also on web pages and also in computerized systems, whatever digital platform we want. Once we build these knowledge nuggets, we go back and refine. This is like a cycle. We build the model bottom up, then top down. We go and build the knowledge nugget, one knowledge nugget for each box and for each hyperlink. And then while we're doing so, we refine the model and go back and refine the knowledge nuggets. Last thing, we add visualization. Colors, icons, all kinds of alerts, whatever is required. 4 steps, and we have it done.
Okay, I just want to throw in a question which was written down by Monica now Khalad. I hope I pronounced the name right, and she asked or suggests that there are different knowledge represented differently. Respectively, different knowledge types are represented differently. So sometimes knowledge is represented well with conceptual maps. But what do we do when we have, let's say, procedures where it's a flow chart would be a better way of representation. So does your solution present a solution for flow chart as well?
Thank you, Monica. First of all, I'm glad, Monica, that you are with us. We know you from our course from last year and for our course, KMGN course, also this year. The answer is that flowcharts is exactly a good example why not always 1,000 words are better than 1,000 words are less good than a picture or better. I could show you an example here, but it would take me too much time, and I'm not sure that it's in English, that we had workflows that went with all the details and therefore were very, very lengthy, and people don't understand the picture. If we're speaking about a high-level flowchart, that's our concept map. Our concept map, of course, can be a flowchart, high-level one. We have some situations where this is the best solution, and that would be the way to implement the process, how to implement the concept map. However, in too many cases, we understood that many times you have a sub question saying, and if this is a situation, do that or do that. And then the flow chart turns to be from something that explains, it turns to be a monster because it has thousands or hundreds of details. Go to here, go to there, go to this. And that's places where I would put them in one box in the flow chart and within the chapter, right? Okay, do this. And if this is a situation, act a bit differently. So sometimes a flow chart, I'll summarize, sometimes a flow chart is the low level while within the nugget, while the high level is a regular concept map with different types of connections. Sometimes we use a flow chart for the concept map and it's wonderful. And in most cases, when we do so, we eliminate part of the questions and answers and flows and connect them, package them into higher level elements.
I think the idea is that what the example you showed is a concept map that follows a timeline. That's not necessary. A concept line can follow other logics, let's say a flowchart logic, but it has to be precise, concise, and informative. So this is
Yes,
part, I think, of the thinking process before you draw your concept map.
exactly. And beware
Okay,
of too many details. I think that we
right.
didn't say it precisely, but it was between the lines understood, well understood.
Yeah, God is in the details inside the procedure. Leave him
Yes.
out of the first page. Okay, so
So,
I think the idea was conveyed very informatively, and today we can't do without AI, right?
before
So
I do want to show a small demo just because I promised to
please,
show the ISO document. So this is the way the ISO document looks. I can go back to the Word document so you will see it in bigger words. Yes, and I have it in a Word format because I also serve as the ISO 3041 committee team leader. So you see, we have here we have here a long table of contents and annexes. And that's what I showed you. Let's close this and go back to here. I put the full table of contents here. So when we start working, and the scope will be 1, I will note that I can't really change the way the chapters are organized within the ISO because ISO have their format and we have to stick to it. But this is not only an exercise. My dear friend Dr. Vincent Ribière, when we tried explaining the public what is the essence of ISO, he said, I remember you have a nice way of introducing content. Why don't you take this very complicated structure and turn it into a concept map? So at least if we can't change the document itself, we will have an aid so that it will bridge the understanding between people and the knowledge. So what we did, as you understand, we took all these paragraphs and subparagraphs and all the names, and we organized them in a concept map. Now, without going into all details, we have an introduction, we have terms and definitions and annexes that have great importance, but not to the requirements. They have different reasons that we will speak about some other day when we speak about the secrets behind the ISO 3041. They have their importance. But when we speak requirements-based, we have to understand that input is an organization with its issues, needs, expectations, risks, and opportunities. And that always, if we want to have some good knowledge management system, we need an infrastructure of leadership roles and operations. And you see, these are you can't see it, it's too small, but these are sub chapters or second level sub chapters. But the core, the essence, the heart of the knowledge management system, and when I'm saying system, it's not only an IT system, it's a full system, including the processes, the technology, everything to do with it, the governance. It is, you have to define your scope, you have to decide on your policy, design your objectives. This is done once in 5 years or several years. This is done every year again and again. Then you continue. You have 3 parts here. These are already in the table of contents, 3rd level. But they're 3rd level because of ISO. If you look at us, these are the most important things. The requirements of the KM system are defined in 3 ways. You have 3 types of requirements to do with the life cycle, to do with the transferring the knowledge. Here it's by the SECI model. You see, without even saying it, we give the icon so people understand it. And you have the enablers. But it's not only important that you run all these processes and these processes align with the requirements. You also have to foster a culture to manage the development, the creation and the development of the right culture and again improve. So I'll stop here, but you see how concept map can give a much better understanding and how it can be done, taking the leaves the bottom lines and turning them, choosing the right ones to a wonderful concept map.
I think this leads us very straightforwardly to AI because some would say, why bother, Moria, with all these techniques of visualization? Just throw the document into what people call today data lake, give the machine to work, and start chatting with it with natural language. Why bother? Maybe AI can solve all our problems with these kinds of documents. What's your take on that?
Okay, first of all, I'm not a prophet, so I'm not really sure that I have an absolute yes-no answer. However, there's a good chance that these documents, as part of them at least, are regulatory, and many of them are, or all of them are official, will be the last to be changed and replaced. So they will exist, or they will exist with us for a few years now. And we cannot wait until whenever they are replaced. B, even if an organization, okay, so we say that there will be, maybe we won't need it in, I don't know how many years, but these will be the last to be replaced. The second thing is that you suggested, okay, let's not replace them, but let's put a RAG that will help us find the right documents and info. We find that because the RAGs in organizations and in small databases, and yes, a database of routines, of SOPs is a small, it's rather 2,000 documents, 200 documents, not much more than that. So, and everyone is very specific. So a RAG, yet nowadays, and I'm careful, works less good on this type of size of documents. See, a RAG doesn't work good enough today when we speak about very mandatory instructions of yes and no. Because the generative AI is good in integrating, in synchronizing, in synergizing together things. But it's less good in finding me only the exact answer in the same words. I even say that we all know that when you use generative AI for the same question, it will try to answer you slightly different every time. And we don't want that when we are speaking about regulation or official documents. We want it to be very exact. Saying that, I want to say, yes, AI can help. AI can help both when we prepare it and B, when we want to address, to refer to the right document. But for God's sake, in the coming years, don't replace the document. And once we enter the document, we, as knowledge managers, have to make it as appealing as possible.
Okay, just to mention, RAG is a retrieval augmented generation. So this is a way of retrieving information. Omar, I'm not sure I understood your question. If you can repeat it. And Moria, I think we're coming to the last stages of our session. And probably people are thinking, we have here KMers, now I have a project, I have a company. Let's say he has 500 procedures. Many of them look like my worst nightmares. How does one begin? Where does one start? How do you begin such a project?
Okay, thank you. It's a good question. So first of all, as I said, we need some education. Phase 0, educate the people how to do it, how to analyze it. It's not only a technical education. It's you like it because it's mind thinking. It's to plan a good concept map. You have to think, and we like to think as KMers. So that's phase 0. However, when we continue, I want to differentiate between new documents and existing documents. Because when we speak about new documents, it's easy. Or documents that are changed, 80% of them, or the majority of them has to be rewritten. So you act as if they are new, and then you start working on them in the new way. And it's okay that within one organization, we have also lousy looking documents and good looking documents. It's not A or B. It's okay that they live in the same sphere. So the interesting question is not what to do with new documents, but what to do with existing documents. And our answer, I think, is a bit surprising. The answer is do very little. Every time you have time, every year, take write in your work plan, add to your work plan, dealing with 5%. Every year, look for the 5% that are the costly for you. And when I say costly, I mean that the mistakes that are done because people don't understand what's written, don't find the content within it, don't find the right wording, don't are even, I'll say, desperate and leave it alone, even if everything is written there. Look only at these, where the cost of the mistake is the highest. That's where you deal. And one thing that's good here, that it's a very easy decision for organizations to slice and dice. What do I mean when I say slice and dice? That the decision may be sliced and diced? When we speak about a project of building a new portal or a new way of working, it is hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, when we look at such a project, you just come up every time with 2 new documents. So the cost is in thousands of dollars, not in 10,000s of dollars. And every time you do just a bit. What happens is, from our experience, that good, new, renewed documents bring on their friends. What do I mean? Someone receives such a document, and he's maybe a manager in some other a department, so he says, my procedure doesn't look that nice. I want it also to be appealing, to be sexy, to look good. So he'll come and say, I don't care what you're doing, I want my one, only one. That's why I say a friend brings a friend. And that's the way not only to start, but to also continue, slice and dice.
Okay. I think we're open to questions and answers now. So I understand, Omar, you had a question. So please, we have to open the microphones, or they're open?
Anyone can
Yeah,
open theirs.
I think
Yeah,
it's
Omar,
open.
please. Okay, please.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Moria and Israel, for this wonderful presentation. It's really, let's say, very informative. Yeah. So the question is that at the end of this session, are you going like to get this presentation or what?
Are you sharing this presentation?
Oh, yes. Those who took part in the webinar, we will both share the presentation and the recording. So you can go back through and see it again and see what and come up with questions.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. So this is the question number one, and the other question is that you talk about the artificial intelligence and the knowledge management. So as
Yes.
you mentioned, like the use of AI, like should not replace, let's say, the content of our document, but it should that's just complements. I totally agree with that point of view. But my question is that do you have any tool, like let's say any AI tool that you would like us to use instead?
Yes. We, in our company, in Rome Global, we look at AI in several levels. First of all, it's important, and even I would speak specifically about generative AI, because generative AI has to do with generating content, mainly generating texts, and text is our language of knowledge. So first of all, we believe that we have to educate ourselves, and we have to ourselves use AI-based tools. However, we also suggest not specific education for specific roles in organizations, how to analyze the tasks where AI should be implemented, and teach them how to find the right balancing between man and machine, and how to not only find where to do it, but how to do it in a way that is more efficient and effective. Not only more efficient, but more efficient and effective. Taking in charge the responsibility that has to be and how to do it. That's one thing. Another thing is that we have, and very shortly, I think that maybe in April we will go out to the public with it. We have a set of AI agents that help the KMer in work. We do it not only for KMers, but for other organizations, for other roles as well. But for KMers, we're going out with a software, with an app, and also a software on the website, on the web, that can help those who are registered carry on specific, I'll say, thinking, knowledge intensive or thinking intensive processes. Because if it's only content intensive, I'm very careful when I say knowledge, because knowledge can be the written knowledge and just collect it. So put a rag there and we'll educate it how to do it yourself. But there are processes that are thinking intensive, that they need the expertise within them, that they need the best practices within them. It's not only finding the answer in what's written in the document. You need to have also the best practices, and it's a complicated task. It's not something that, okay, I don't know how to do it. I'll write an email, but that's fine, even if I don't have the best practices. For those, we know how to develop for organizations and with organizations, and we do that in some organizations, their AI agents. However, as I started saying, for KMers, we have a set of pre-prepared AI agents, for example, for capturing tacit knowledge, or for helping in building concept maps, or for helping dealing with lessons learned, and more and more. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Yes, it does. Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Please feel free to jump in.
Maybe it's time to stop sharing and the screen, and we can see our audience, or at
Okay.
least their names, because there are any additional
Anyone?
questions?
Okay. As hi Omar. Uh, maybe as you think, maybe you think question. I'll just say something on a personal note. My background is in law. I used to be a practicing lawyer, and lawyers are many times responsible for writing these documents. And I can really honestly say, if I would known this theory or way of writing documents with concept maps during my practicing years, I think my job would be a lot easier and probably different. Although the legal profession is very, very conservative. I'm not sure is ready, but surely disciplines can learn how to present knowledge in very innovative ways, which are different from just writing long, lengthy documents. And this is a great takeaway from this lesson, from this webinar, which doesn't concern only procedures. That's my personal note. Okay,
Thank,
so anyone else?
thank
Okay,
you,
so
thank you, Israel,
so
for
thank you
noting
very
that.
much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Moria. And again, we encourage you, if you have any questions, to write to Rome Global in any way you want. As Moria said, this webinar will be available to anyone who was presented, and we hope to see you again in Rom Global's next webinar.
And I want to add my personal ending. Our users deserve more. I'm looking at the documents, they deserve more. Let's provide them with the keys to turn documented knowledge easy. Easy to read, easy to understand, easy to navigate, and easy to apply. It's a win-win for all of us. So really, if you want to know more, contact us. We are here. Thank you.